Hello children, how are you? I hope you are keeping yourself safe by staying at home as well as you are utilizing your precious time to study, complete the syllabus and following strictly to your teachers who are teaching you different lessons and you're practicing. Okay, very good. So today we'll begin the chapter um, topic, that is digestion in the human system. Before that, we will just do a little recapping of the previous class. We have started with the heterotrophic nutrition, and we have studied that how the animals are different to each other on the basis of how they procure the food, get the food. Secondly, we did the how the unicellular organism get the food, digest it, absorb it and send to the different parts of their body. Third, we started with the human digestive system. We have discussed the mouth part. Okay, some part of the mouth, that is teeth, is left, that I will begin with today. And we did that how in the mouth the salivary glands produces the saliva, and the saliva contains the salivary amylase. With the help of the salivary amylase, the starch part of the food is digested into sugar. So today we will start with the mouth again. The teeth we will discuss. Now, in the mouth, the teeth which is present here in the mouth, there are four types of teeth present in the mouth. We all know the front four teeth are called as incisors, which are called as cutting teeth. Next to the incisor, the sharp pointed teeth are called as canines, and behind the canines we have broad teeth, that is called as premolars and molars. Basically, the function of the premolars and the molars are the grinding, that means proper chewing of the food. Now, care of the teeth also need to be discussed in this chapter, otherwise you will be facing with the dental caries. You know that when we eat food, the food particles get stuck into our gaps of the teeth, and if we don't brush properly, what happens? The bacteria acts on those stuck food item and it decomposes it and produces acid. That acid destroys the enamel part of our teeth, which is made up of mineral, and the enamel get destroyed and gradually they get a path to move to the inner location of the teeth, and then we get a toothache. Okay, one more thing you need to know, that is plaque. What is plaque? The yellow color deposits on our teeth is called as plaque. How this plaque develops in our mouth? When we every day, whole day, when we eat food, saliva is produced. All these actions which is done in the mouth produces a creamy white color deposits on the teeth, and that, if it is not removed after the end of the day, that means before sleeping, when we are sleeping, that time the bacteria acts on our teeth, whereby if it get the plaque, if it get the food item stuck in the teeth gaps. Okay, now we begin with the next part. After the food is chewed properly, mixed with the saliva, became soft, it is transferred to the next part of the digestive system, that is the stomach. But there is a way to transfer the food from the mouth to the stomach, that is called as esophagus. There is a pipe that is called as food pipe also, or esophagus. But how the esophagus moves the food from the mouth to the stomach? There is a, because esophagus is also made up of muscles, and there is a constant contraction and relaxation of the muscles. That contraction and relaxation of the muscles of the esophagus is called as peristalsis movement. What is it? Peristalsis movement. So in the esophagus there is no digestion, only the movement of the food is done. The transportation of the food is done from the mouth to the stomach. Now, when the esophagus brings the food to the stomach, there is again one opening here which brings the food to the stomach. The stomach is covered with the lining, that walls you can say, they produces three things. One is the HCl, that is hydrochloric acid. Second one is some gastric juices. And the third one is the enzyme, that is pepsin enzyme. Okay. The HCl which is produced in by the walls or the glands, what is that glands called, which is present on the walls of the stomach? They are called as gastric glands. These gastric glands produces HCl, and that HCl has two functions. One, the enzyme pepsin remains in the stomach in the inactive form, that is called, it is produced in the inactive form, that is called as pepsinogen. When the pepsinogen comes in the contact of HCl, it gets activated and becomes pepsin. Okay, and the second role of the HCl is, if by chance the food is, along with the food, some germs or bacteria enters our stomach, it kills them also. Okay, so HCl has two roles: to activate the pepsin, second one to kill the bacteria. Now the pepsin role is what? The pepsin digests the protein part of the food. P for pepsin, P for protein. Okay, now from the walls of the stomach, there is one more liquid that is called as mucus, the sticky liquid. Mucus is called as a sticky liquid. It also produces, mucus is produced. What is the role of the mucus? Since you all have studied in class 9, the hydrochloric acid is corrosive in nature. It may damage the wall of the stomach. So to prevent the damage from the HCl, the mucus protects the lining of the stomach. Okay. So after the digestion of the protein, now the food which is present in the stomach is little acidic. It will be transferred to the next organ, that is the small intestine. Small intestine, name is small, but it is longer. It is highly coiled area of the digestive system, and the food which is transferred from the stomach to the small intestine, from the stomach to the small intestine, is acidic in nature, and there is one switch called a sphincter. That sphincter allows the movement of the food from the stomach to the small intestine. Okay, the length of the small intestine depends, in the different animals, the length of the small intestine depends on what type of food they are eating. Like in the herbivorous, the food composed of cellulose, grass, leaves they eat. So cellulose is a complex structure. What happens? It takes longer time to get digested. So what happens? The herbivorous have a longer small intestine, and the carnivorous eats meat. Meat is little simpler to digest. So what happens? They have little shorter small intestine as compared to the herbivorous. Okay, so in case if the question is asked why herbivorous has longer small intestine as compared to carnivorous, you will have an answer for it. Now, the small intestine is connected to two more important parts of the digestive system. One is the liver, which is called as the largest gland of our body, and the second one is the pancreas. Okay, so you know that both are glands, so they must be having some kind of secretion. Both the secretion has a definite purpose for the digestion. Okay, now the liver has a connection through one tube. It sends the secretion through this tube, and the pancreas also joins to that tube. But in between the liver and the pancreas, there is one small organ called as gallbladder. The gallbladder stores the secretion of the liver. When the liver secretes, it sends and it is stored in the gallbladder, and from the gallbladder it is passed to the small intestine through a common duct which is common for the liver secretion and the pancreas to the small intestine. Okay, now liver secretes, the secretion of the liver is called as bile. What is it? Bile, B-I-L-E, bile juice. Everything written portion will come later. You will note it down. Just now you just listen carefully. Bile is secreted by the liver and bile is stored in the gallbladder. Now pancreas secretes pancreatic juice, and the pancreatic juice makes the food alkaline. That means neutralizes, because it is alkaline in nature. So the acidic portion of the food which is coming from the stomach gets neutralized and it does not damage the small intestine. Okay, so the bile has a role to digest the fat. The fat is converted, fat is like a big globules, big structure. So it is broken down into simpler form, that is called as fatty acids and glycerol. One thing more I forgot to tell you children, the proteins are also complex structure. They are converted into simpler form, that is called as amino acids. Like carbohydrates are complex structure which is broken down into sugars, then only starch is broken down into sugar. Sugar is the glucose is the simplest form. Protein simplest form is amino acid. Fats are simplified into fatty acids and glycerol. Okay, since the small intestine is a long coiled structure, it is divided into three parts. The first part, which is connected to the stomach, is called as duodenum. Next is jejunum, and the third part, the end part, is called as ileum. First duodenum, jejunum, and then ileum. Now, the small intestine is very important organ for the digestive system. Why? Because this is the site for complete digestion. Whatever digestion has been done in the mouth or the stomach, rest whatever is left, that is digested in the small intestine. That is why it is called as, it is a site for complete digestion. Why? Because here the rest of the carbohydrates is digested, proteins are digested, and the fats are also digested. Now, what happens? The walls of the small intestine also produces a juice that is called as intestinal juices. Intestinal juices. So what happens? The pancreatic juice produces three enzymes. One is pancreatic amylase. Second one is trypsin. Third one is lipase. As you are already aware, the amylase acts on the starch to convert into sugars. Trypsin digests the protein part. Lipase digests the fats. And bile also emulsifies, breaks down the fats. Lipase also breaks down the fats. Okay. The intestinal juices, which is produced by the walls of the small intestine, they also digest the rest over remains of the proteins, fats, and the carbohydrates in the small intestine. Not only the digestion in the small intestine is done completely, but the absorption of the nutrients is also done in the small intestine. How the absorption is done in the small intestine? The walls of the small intestine has finger-like projections, very small finger-like brush. You have seen the brush, the bristles of the brush. The brush looks like the wall of the small intestine, and the bristles of the brush called as villi. Okay, that villi increases the surface area of absorption of the nutrients because that villi are supplied by the blood vessels. They are containing the blood vessels. So what happens? The whatever nutrients are produced by the breakdown of the food, the blood vessels present in the villi takes the nutrients into the blood. Okay, so how the absorption is done? By the villi present on the walls of the small intestine. After complete digestion, the nutrients are absorbed by the villi and it is sent to the blood. Once it reaches to the blood, through the blood, it goes to the different parts of the body for the definite function, for the growth, for the bodybuilding, everything. It goes to the blood and then it is utilized by the body cells. After the digestion and absorption of the food, there will be some kind of waste material. That waste material, the undigested part, which is made up of, which is roughage or the unused thing, is sent to the large intestine. It is sent to the large intestine, and this is the large intestine, the inverted U type of structure. This large intestine also has some parts. The initial part, which is the cecum, which is connected to the small intestine cecum, and then it is called as ascending colon. Okay, this is called as transverse colon. This is called as descending colon, and there is one organ called as rectum, and finally the excretory organ called as anus is present. Okay, now what happens? The undigested part is sent to the cecum. One more thing, you can see this appendix. This is called as like vestigial organ. Vestigial, that means just rudimentary, which doesn't have any role. Now this appendix, a vermiform appendix, has a role in the herbivorous. The appendix they have the ability to digest the cellulose. So they have a role in the herbivorous. Since we don't have the cellulose to digest, it is just in the form of rudimentary vestigial organ. So cecum gets the undigested food. Here more absorption of water is done in that, and then through the ascending colon it is sent to the transverse colon. Finally it comes and gets stored in the rectum, the undigested waste material. Before the removal of the undigested waste material, it is stored in the rectum, and from the rectum, when it pushes the walls of the rectum, we urge to excrete, we go to the toilet, and then through the anus it comes out of the body. So this way the complete digestion is done in the body system. We will just discuss the enzymes. In the mouth, which enzyme? Amylase. In the stomach, which enzyme? Pepsin. In the small intestine, lipase, trypsin and amylase. Some more enzymes are also there. Ribonuclease is there. There are much more that need not to be discussed now. Okay, these are few enzymes which has a role. Enzymes is very important. Remember that. Now, for you, I have jotted down in the form of notes. You just go through it and write down in your notebook. Now, you can see that I'm just reading. In the mouth, the food is broken down into smaller particles by the teeth and mixed with saliva from the salivary glands. Saliva contains the enzyme called salivary amylase, which converts starch into sugar. So starch is a complex structure, carbohydrate. It is first carbohydrate broken down into sugars and the glucose. Then the food passes through the esophagus in the stomach. How it passes from the esophagus to stomach? By the process of peristalsis. Continuous contraction and relaxation of the muscles is called as peristalsis. Now, how in the stomach? The gastric glands produces gastric juice, which contains the enzyme pepsin, hydrochloric acid and mucus. We have discussed that. What is the role of hydrochloric acid in mucus? Pepsin breaks down the protein. Hydrochloric acid makes the acidic medium, which helps in the action of pepsin. Mucus protects the walls of the stomach by the action of acid. Then the food passes to the small intestine. The upper part is called as duodenum. Next part is called as jejunum. Third part is called as ileum. In the upper part, the food is mixed with the bile from the liver and pancreatic juice from the pancreas. Bile breaks down the fat into small globules, that is called as fatty acid and glycerol. Pancreatic juice contains enzyme trypsin and lipase, and pancreatic juice also does the neutralization of the food coming from the stomach because it has alkaline in nature. Trypsin breaks down the protein, lipase breaks down the fat. Now in the lower part of the small intestine, the glands present on the walls of the small intestine produces intestinal juice. The enzymes of the intestinal juice converts carbohydrates into glucose, fats into fatty acid and glycerol, proteins into amino acids. Remember, this is the simplest form of the protein. This is the simplest form of fat. This is the simplest form of carbohydrate. Remember that. The walls of the small intestine has several finger-like projections called as villi, which is having blood vessels. It helps to increase the surface area for the absorption of the digested food. The digested food is absorbed by the blood and transported to the cells of the body. Then the undigested food passes into the large intestine. In the large intestine, the water is absorbed and the waste material is removed through the anus. Before it is removed to the anus, where is it stored? It is stored in the rectum area. So here we finish the digestion. Next we will start with the respiration. I am just going to give you the introduction of the respiration. Detail of the respiration we will have in the next class. Now, just for you, the definition of respiration. Respiration is the process by which the food is burnt in the cells of the body with the help of the oxygen and release energy. This takes place in the mitochondria in the cell. Before I go to this, I would like to discuss the difference between breathing and respiration. What is the difference? Breathing is just the inhaling of oxygen, exhaling of carbon dioxide. Just exchange of gases. But But during this exchange of gases, when the oxygen is already inside the cells of the body, the mitochondria part of the cell gets the oxygen. Before that, the food also reaches to the cell, oxygen also reaches to the cell. Okay. Now inside the cell, if you remember the cell part which we have discussed last year, first cytoplasm comes, then the mitochondria is come. When the food reaches to the cell, what happens? It comes in the contact of the cytoplasm. In the cytoplasm, there is no oxygen. Remember, there is no oxygen in the cytoplasm. So the glucose which is taken in by the body cell is broken down to an intermediate component that is called as pyruvate. We will discuss this in the next class. Pyruvate. Now that pyruvate enters the mitochondria. Inside the mitochondria, the oxygen is there. Inside the mitochondria, the pyruvate comes in the contact of oxygen, and there the food is burnt and the energy is released. How? The energy released during the respiration is used to make the ATP molecules. You all know that ATP molecules are the energy currency note, coins you can say as if. So this is called as adenosine triphosphate. In our body cells, the ADP molecules are present. Adenosine diphosphate. When the food is burnt, the phosphate group is added. Inorganic phosphate is also present in the cell. They both get combined after the food is burnt, because glucose broken down to pyruvate, pyruvate broken down to carbon dioxide, and they get joined. And for joining, some of the energy is used, and this produces an important molecule that is called as ATP, which is stored in the mitochondria. Energy is stored in the cells in the form of ATP molecules. When the cells need energy, this ATP, whenever any kind of work, like when you are running, when you are doing exercise, any work, for all the work we need energy. So whenever we need energy, this ATP molecules has the stored energy. To combine ADP and phosphate, inorganic phosphate, we need energy. But when the ATP molecules breaks down for producing energy, it releases energy in the presence of water. ATP molecules broken down in the presence of water to form ADP, and inorganic phosphate is separated and energy is released. So this way, energy is formed and stored, energy is released for the function. Detail and the types of the respiration we will have in the next class. Thank you so much. Bye children.